sub-Saharan Africa from enabling remote monitoring. So that's just, the problem we have is you install systems and a lot of times the meters are not working, or if you have the meters in place, what we've seen, especially across northern Nigeria in remote locations, is you then have limited connectivity. So from that alone, if you can have this system, the right systems in place, the right connectivity, you can actually increase, you can save up to $820 million in operational expenditure. And we've seen now what's going on in Nigeria, where the federal government has budgeted about, they've said basically they're hoping to extract about $3 billion annually from carbon markets. And this would be a combination of carbon credits and renewable energy certificates, being able to draw that amount of revenue to come in to support projects in Nigeria. And this is part of the wider goal of the government to unlock about 25 billion, between 25 to 30 billion annually in climate finance, to not only support the operational maintenance, but also to support the capital expenditure of these projects. So these are, I want to start with this in mind. The governing thought there is that data is very important and reliability is important. So it's very important to get the capital expenditure in, and everyone's focused and fixated on that. But then what happens after that? And this is key. So now I will talk about the solar boom and the weak link in Nigeria. So, we've seen the astronomical increase in solar deployments across Nigeria and indeed across Africa. And that's because of what's been going on. Cost of diesel and petrol has gone up in light of what's happening in the Middle East. The grid is very unreliable. So we've seen, huge growth in solar in Nigeria. Currently, we have just over 1,000 megawatts of solar. And, Nigeria is now the second largest destination for solar power. Just last year alone, over 80% of the addition of the solar that we have in Nigeria was deployed just last year alone. So there's a lot that's going on in the Nigerian markets. But then you look at that, and then you also look at what's happening on the national grid. You have lots of collapses. The grid isn't strong enough to handle a lot of the power and hasn't been reinforced or upgraded to manage that. So we have a lot of problems with power collapse. But yet we still have, the government has very ambitious goals to have 30 gigawatts of renewable capacity by 2030. So that's very, very big, ambitious goals. But then we need to then peel, go through, go beneath that, look at those numbers and see what are we seeing right now in the markets. We're saying that typically a solar power project should last between 20 to 25 years. But what we see, not just in Nigeria, but across sub-Saharan Africa, have been in this industry for since 2010, 2011. And what we see, especially for projects that have grant funding, or, that are for health centers, schools, these mini grids in off-grid communities, there's a high amount of failure. So as you can see here, this was a statistic research carried out by Budget. They looked at projects between 2022 and 2024. And close to 40% of those projects fail or are not fully functional between 1 to 3 years. So that's a very stark number. That's very, very shocking, because these projects are very expensive, capital intensive, and after a year, they are no longer functional, or they have limited functionality. And this is a big problem. So this is why we are here today, to talk about this gap and how can we use data to improve on this? How can we make sure that we set the right processes in place, that when the project has been deployed, then there is that maintenance culture that's been put in place, and the data is being tracked to simplify being able to maintain these projects. So as I said, this is not just a problem in Nigeria. If you look at across Africa, over 33% of grant-funded solar projects, especially for public healthcare facilities, have failed. Most of them no longer operate. And you find that a lot of times these projects have been deployed, very well designed, but then you have what you call consumption creep. Once there's power, people from neighboring communities come in to use the power. They get more expensive kits, more power-consuming kits, and then that leads to drainage of the batteries. And before you know it, the system is down and no longer working, and then you revert back to diesel generators. In sub-Saharan Africa, up to 50%, of these projects, just general, not just grant funded, but all projects suffer from, operational shutdowns, systemic issues within the first 5 years. So what happens is you then move from having very expensive green investments to basically waste. You have inverters, batteries just there rotting, and that's not good for the environment. So these are numbers I'm pointing out here just to explain that, right now there's this push to electrify a lot of communities, a lot of businesses with solar. Um, but right now, the gap between the maintenance of these projects and the fact, and then looking at the deployment of these projects, there's a gap there, and that needs to be resolved. Otherwise, the whole sector would have a very big problem in the next couple of years. So generally, why do these systems fail? A lot of things. One of them is, I mean, there are five different factors. So one is the quality of the installation. We have very good installers out there, but also for some of the smaller systems, maybe the systems that are not run by the REA, maybe more smaller procurement of the systems, you tend to find that the standards are not up to par. So there are problems maybe with the cabling, not the right cabling done, or the right connections between the different cells. And there are all sorts of problems that can happen, and this leads to bad quality. And then of course that leads to the systems failing, not actually surviving for the entire lifetime of the project. Then you also have the technician network. So a lot of times these projects are in rural communities. We're working with some projects in Kano that we're about 50, 50 to 100 miles away from, electricians or good technicians that can actually maintain the systems. And there is bad problems with connectivity. So this affects a lot of projects, especially in rural areas. And then the most important one, and why we're all here today, is the data. The management of data is very, very fragmented. So spreadsheets, logs, not everyone can access the data. There are different systems in place, logging into different, for instance, if let's say you have the RE, would have multiple projects with different inverter systems that have been installed. So you have to then be able to access all these different systems, and it makes it very, very arduous and difficult to be consistent. And then there's fault detection. You can't always visit the sites if you don't have access to data. Then how do you detect the problems at site? And then generally, there's also the financing models. Not saying that that's a big problem for instance, we've got these big REA projects, but generally with grant funded projects, they tend to focus more on the capital expenditure, and then they expect the owners of that system to then work out how they would support the operation and maintenance of these projects. So, with all of this, you have, degradation of the systems, the batteries, the inverters, and this is a very, very big problem for projects. And then if we go beyond that, typically some other problems we have are, the different, the weather patterns we have in Nigeria. We have very, very hot, humid climates. We have the Hamatan, which impacts the panels. You have this, thick film of dust. If not properly cleaned, then that stays for a period of time. You can have a significant drop in output in performance of your solar PV system. And if that's not taken care of, then over a period of time that could destroy your projects. So there are all these different problems that we have, but there are ways that we can resolve that with access to data and having the right processes in place. Now, what does this mean? We talked about, okay, we've seen that there are problems, there's downtime. So we try to quantify what that means, for in Nigeria. So every year, households and businesses are running, diesel and petrol generators. We did a rough calculation just to understand what that's cost is, and that's about $14 billion, which is around 19 trillion naira in cost. So you put in a system for a business or a household, and after a year it fails. What happens is people then revert back to the old system of you have the grid, and because the grid is unreliable, you use diesel. So it's very expensive. That's equivalent to, 8.5 million cars on the road. So when we look at the pollution, the amount of emissions, that's about 39 million tons of CO2. And this is just looking at Lagos alone, not looking at the whole of Nigeria. So when we talk about climate change, and we want to basically uh, have a country where we have good health, we limit the impacts of emissions, from diesel generators, especially. You want to try and reduce this and mitigate this amount of CO2 that's been emitted into the atmosphere. So basically, the more projects we have installed, the better for us in terms of avoidance of CO2 emissions. But then once those projects fail, everyone reverts back to diesel, and then that gives a stigma around solar power projects. And then before you know it, everyone then stays with diesel generators, which is not what we want out of this. So we want to move from a more reactive approach, which is, okay, the system breaks down, right? We've got to fix it, or it's too far gone. We can't fix this anymore. To We want to move further along the line. So from reactive to then, how can we prevent this? So you can prevent this by, I talked about the Harmattan period, cleaning the panels, every couple of weeks, checking the batteries, especially if it's lead acid battery, especially in humid climates, making sure that those checks are done and those logs are carried out, you fill those logs in, so it actually becomes a consistent process. And then from then on, you then move, okay, what can we then do? We have data, we have connectivity. You then move to predictive maintenance. You have the sensors in place, taking temperature data for the batteries, taking generation output from the inverters. You also have local weather data as well. So you can be able to then use that to understand the performance of the project and build a profile of how that system should operate. And then if there's a deviation, you can then, these AI tools can then react very quickly and send the right level of information to whoever's managing that project with recommendations on how they can then resolve that problem before you get to full failure. So that's where this smart data comes in. Now, so how can we enable this? So we want to use AI to improve how we maintain these projects. We want to improve the operation of these projects. But in order to do that, we need to be able to collect data. And the most important part is the sensors and emitters that are in place. So a lot of times, we've seen a lot of projects where, people rely on data from the inverter, which is good, but I think you need to have uh, um, more specific more, you have to have the meters in place in specific locations. You have to have different sensors in place, especially for the battery, so you can monitor the state of charge. So you can't just rely on only inverter data to be able to troubleshoot your system. Then we move on to connectivity. I think pretty much across all the different locations, we have good GSM or at least 3G connectivity. But then sometimes we have problems with being able to connect to some of these systems. This is where we have edge devices which can do some of the data processing and store some of that data. And then instead of maybe sending the data every couple of minutes, it could process that data and send it maybe once or twice a day. But a lot of that processes are done locally at the site before it goes to the cloud. Then how do we aggregate this data? We need to have the right platform in place where we can aggregate data from multiple systems. You can have the Huawei, SMA, Schneider, whatever, and you can aggregate all of that data in one location, and we can be able to then provide that information to people in, either via SMS, if it's from an app or from a website. We'll be able to have that platform in place. And then once the first three steps are, fully implemented, then you can then have the AI machine learning on top of that, which is then observing how the system operates, how the particular or group of systems operates in different locations, and is then building a profile that can then be able to provide the right level of information that you need if there is an anticipated failure. Because once you've built a profile over 6 months to a year, both during the dry and the rainy season, then the AI tool is then able to understand if there's a deviation, either due to additional load that's been added on there, or either due to battery failure, issues with the solar panel. All of that would be understood with this AI and ML analytics. And then you can then take the right action, be able to dispatch people who need to go, or if you need to reduce some of the load on at the sites. So you then avoid problems like what we, for instance, a good case study would be what happened in Bayero University in Kano, where the project failed after I think about 2 or 3 years. And there were a host of factors there, but with the right level of data, you can be able to mitigate that problem. So now, once you have the right AI tools in place, what can we can be able to capture, some of the most important factors, things that actually lead to failure are degradation of the batteries. Even people think, okay, even if it's not lead acid, it's lithium ion, that's, that can last for X amounts of cycles or whatever. But, it's very important to track that degradation, especially depending on how it's charged and discharged, is deep discharge. All of that needs to be tracked. Also panel soiling and shading, which I talked about. You have information on that. The load, we've seen projects where it is designed for X amount of megawatt hours, and then the consumption doubles or triples, and no one's tracking that. And then also typical inverter faults, due to a host of factors that can be tracked. The behavior of the charge controllers, and then generally, if there are issues with the temperature, thermal hotspots. With all of this, you can reduce downtime by as much as 60%. And this can also reduce the operational expenditure just from having access to the data before even sending people out there to do anything. Just capturing all of this, you can reduce down the operational expenditure by up to 25%. And it costs a lot of money to put the sensors in place. When I say a lot of money, you've got to have your right sensors, you've got to have maybe a team, you've got to have procedures in place. But the payback period for this is typically a year or less than a year. And then you then have a system that would last at least over 15 to 20-year period, as opposed to projects failing within 1 to 3 years. So now, a lot of people also, they mention AI, and it's good to talk about artificial intelligence, but it would not replace that human. And especially in the difficult terrains that we have across Nigeria and across Africa, we need to pair that with somebody or, a group of people who are managing this system. So the AI, as I mentioned, will spot the different patterns once you develop a profile over a period of time of an asset or multiple assets. It can flag these different problems. You don't need to have someone reviewing data, downloading data onto spreadsheets, and then it can help prioritize, for instance, the REA who has multiple projects scattered around Nigeria. It can help prioritize which sites need attention first. But at the end of the day, you still need somebody who's on the site, who can be able to describe, okay, this is happening here with the load. We believe it's because this happened. Maybe there's someone stealing this, or there's an additional customer that's been onboarded onto the site. There are different things. So you still need that person to go in and investigate. You also need to understand there might be some issues with the different locations. The way solar PV system would operate in Lagos would be different from how it would operate somewhere, say in Kano, for instance. So it's building that understanding. If you have local tariffs in place, some of these projects have local tariffs for the communities. You want to be able to understand what does that mean for your revenue streams for that mini grid asset owner. You also need to be able to develop the relationships, especially if it's a rural community and there's no technician at the site. Probably want to train somebody there to be able to go in and support if there's problem with the connectivity, to be able to go in there to support in, I don't know, changing the SIM, or whatever thing that you need a human to support. So not just saying we have the AI, we have the data, and that's it, because that's not the only solution. And then there's renewable energy certificates and carbon credits, which I will talk about a bit more in the next slide. But having someone can support here, because one of the most important things is validation, making sure that the data that comes from these sites is valid. So you would always have to have somebody there to go in and to check the data that's collected from these sites to be able to then claim for renewable energy certificates or carbon credits. So I'm going to just quickly go through this. It's very important that data security is also taken into account, because there can be issues with tampering of the meters. There can be issues with the cyber attacks. Now that everything's on the internet, and also the Nigerian data protection regulation is now in place. I think it was in place from 2019, where customer data and financial data has to be protected. So it's all good to have access to the data, but it has to be secure and protected to avoid having problems in future. So this is very key. It's very important that once we get the access to the data, we need to secure that. Now we have the data. This data can be monetized. Once the data is verified, we have the right processes, the data is secure, we can actually then monetize the data as either international renewable energy certificates or carbon credits. So we're not monetizing the energy, but we're monetizing the environmental attributes that come from these projects. Now, this basically what RECs or carbon credits provide is they basically they're helping renewable energy projects they're increasing the bankability of these projects by saying that they're supporting the avoidance of CO2 emissions onto the grid in Nigeria. So one of the most important bits of it is for these projects to have a higher value, either for RECs or carbon credits, they have to have additionality. So that basically means that if this project, without this RECs or carbon credits, these projects would not be bankable. This project would not be built. So that adds a higher value to how you can monetize the data, basically your RECs or carbon credits for your projects. And then another important part is the verification. This has to be well validated by third party. You have to have the right metering in place to collect the data. And then you also need to make sure that once the system is in place, if you've been able to create the RECs or carbon credits, then that project, if for instance, if you sell a long-term contract, say carbon credits for a 10-year period or RECs for a 10-year period, then that project needs to be maintained over that period of time. Otherwise, the asset owner becomes liable for the value. If you cannot, say you sell the RECs over a period of time, and after 2 years, the project is no longer working, then you need to be able to compensate the buyer of those RECs or carbon credits for the remaining 8-year period. So it's very important that the project is maintained. So that uptime is very important because then that increases the bankability. So for these projects, especially for RECs, if you're selling them or carbon credits over a long term, there has to be the right operational maintenance processes in place. There has to be the right data management, data collection in place for the projects. So I'm going to talk about renewable energy certificates and why it's a very good scheme, especially in Nigeria. And the carbon credit is also very big, but it's still still being developed. And there are some intricacies which make it not necessarily the best option, especially for solar mini grid projects. So once a project generates power, you either sell that power to the grid or to the off-taker or to the local community. Then what happens is that a company like our company, RenewableBridge, would then register that asset once it's commissioned, actually, before it starts generating. Once it's commissioned, that asset is registered with an international body called the iTrack Foundation. Once it's registered, it can then start issuing these renewable energy certificates. Those certificates are in a registry and can be tracked. So that's why the verification, the validation of the data is very important, and it's a very long, arduous process. Even once it's registered, once the generation data is submitted, there's a huge amount of checks that's done to make sure that the data is real and not fabricated. Now, once that's in the registry, has been issued, then it's then sold to international companies, multinational companies. So for instance, I would say a good example would be if Unilever has operations in Nigeria and they buy electricity from the grid, instead of saying, oh, maybe they don't have enough land space for solar or roof space for solar, they would continue consuming power from the grid, and then they would go and buy the equivalent of what they consume in RECs. So if they consume 10,000 megawatt hours, they would go and buy 10,000 megawatt hours of RECs from solar or hydropower projects that have been installed in Nigeria. And they substitute that and say, okay, we consume 10,000 megawatt hours, but we've bought 10,000 megawatt hours of RECs from solar and hydro projects in Nigeria. So that means we are net zero. And it's important because a lot of companies now have renewable electricity targets and emissions reduction targets. And it's growing and is being demanded by shareholders in these multinational companies. So what happens here, once that's sold, the multinational company who's the buyer then gets their certificates and they can claim renewable electricity. and then the asset owner, developer, or whoever owns the renewable energy project gets paid in US dollars or in euros to support their project. So that can support the operational maintenance of the project, depending on the value as well, especially if it's a very high social impact project, let's say in a rural community for a hospital, you can sell them for hire, and that can support maybe increasing the capacity of projects or developing more projects in other areas for the developer. So this is monetizing the data. So although you're spending money in the beginning in collecting data, you are then increasing your chances of making sure that the project lasts for a long period of time, and then you're also able as the asset owner to monetize that data to be able to keep the system working and to be able to support the staff that are managing and maintaining that system. So what are RECs, and why is there demand for RECs, and why now? RECs have been existing for renewable energy certificates have been existing for a very long period of time, very big now in Europe and North America, and it's slowly growing in Africa now because right now we're having a lot of companies, multinational companies, are moving their supply chain to Africa. So West Africa, East Africa, they have supply partners. It could be farming, it could be manufacturing, and they need to make sure that those operations are using clean energy and have low emissions. So you can see the two of the biggest organizations that manage this on behalf of companies are the science-based targets. You can see they have over 4,200 companies that have signed up to the science-based targets, saying, oh yes, we're going to reduce our emissions by X amount in line with the Paris agreements. These companies are operating in over 71 countries in over 60 sectors. If you look at the market capitalization of these companies, it's over $110 trillion. So they are the ones that are pushing the clean energy narrative and supporting clean energy, across the world. So when I say clean energy, not only just renewables, but also carbon credits, basically anything that reduces emissions across the board for companies. So there are different types of emissions. You have something called Scope 1 emissions, which is basically just the direct emissions. You have the Scope 2, which is electricity or gas procurement emissions, and then you have Scope 3, which is everything else from the supply chain. So these companies have aggressive targets to reduce that. And then to the right, you have another organization called the Renewable Electricity 100 or RE100. Basically, these companies have said that by 2030, they're going to consume 100% of electricity from renewable electricity, and this is growing. So these companies are the ones that are driving the renewable energy certificates markets. So the moment is now for RECs and carbon credits, because this is once you have the right systems in place, projects have been deployed, you can tap into monetizing the data. Right now, in terms of renewable energy certificates, Nigeria's top 5 largest markets. We have South Africa, Kenya, Ghana, and Tanzania for RECs. Over 1,524 gigawatt hours of RECs have been issued in sub-Saharan Africa, and this was in just 2023 alone, and it continuously growing. And we know for a fact that over 17.5 million Nigerians are targeted for reliable electricity based on the DARES project sponsored by the World Bank that the REA is implementing. So we're going to have more and more renewable electricity projects, solar mini grids that are coming on board, and they can take advantage of RECs or carbon credits. Why do I focus on renewable energy certificates? We did some analysis on value. So I'll start with carbon credits. Typically for carbon credits, it has to be a new project. And it has to provide additionality. So basically, without the carbon credits, that project cannot be built, right? It's a very, very lengthy process. It takes between 6 to 12 plus months, depending on the scheme that you use. It's a very, very tough, difficult market, still in the infancy stages, especially in Nigeria and across Africa. And when you look at the value of it, it could be about 2 to 3% of the operational expenditure budget of a 1 megawatt solar project. And that is because you have different types of carbon credits. You have carbon removal projects, which are, carbon capture and utilization and storage, or, you have things like afforestation, where, reforestation. Those are projects that have a higher value because they actually serve as carbon sinks and they remove carbon from the atmosphere. Then you have avoidance. And with what's happening in Nigeria now, it's inevitable that everyone has to move to solar because it's actually cheaper for businesses and several communities, especially those that are off grid compared to grid connection. So that value for carbon credits is not there. So the buyers are saying there is no value because it's needed anyway. We don't see that additionality. So it has a lower price in the market and it's very, very hard to sell. But when you look at carbon credits, renewable energy certificates, you can register an asset that is 4 years old, 5 years old, and you can start issuing certificates. You don't necessarily have to have additionality. It can be a new project, or it can be an existing project. Of course, if it has additionality, whereby it helps increase the bankability of the project, especially if it's for a hospital or a school, you can have a higher value for your renewable energy certificates. The timeline for it, if you have all the data in place, in all honesty, we work on this all the time. It could take less than 3 months to get everything on board. And then obviously to sell that, you're looking at a 6 to 12-month window to be able to sell your annual certificates that are issued from your project. It's less complex if you have the right metering and data collection in place, then you can automate a lot of it. And depending on how on the value, the social impact of the project, it could contribute close to 70% of your operational expenditure budget. So it's a very, very useful scheme. And it's I would call it the low-hanging fruit. So typically what happens is that you have to assess the value of renewable energy certificates and carbon credits, and then decide on which is the best option for your project. It's very important and crucial because you can only take advantage of one scheme at a time. You cannot double count. So this is the value you can monetize your data either as carbon credits or as renewable energy certificates. So as you can see, there's this flywheel here. We have the data, and underpinning that you have your O&M predictive maintenance from the data. You then increase the uptime, of your project to moving from that 1 to 3 year failure rates to lasting over 15 to 20 years, which is important, especially for expensive hits that are put online, and also especially for those businesses that don't necessarily get grant funding and have to spend out of their pocket for it. You want to make sure that you have the right systems in place to be able to maintain that project. Then from having access to that data, you can monetize that either as IREX or carbon credits, and you can decide how you use that money, either reinvesting it in operations, or if you're a developer, investing some of that money in developing more projects. So just to wrap up, I think depending on, we have different stakeholders here today, depending on who you are, I just want to make it clear that the most important thing is once the right data collection, data management processes in place, and once the right O&M processes are in place, then it increases the bankability of the projects and increases the longevity of the project. So depending on who you are, either developer, operator, financier, or regulator, getting the right processes in place for collection of data and also for maintaining the system is very, very important. And you can tailor that into your, if you're a developer, you can tailor that into your plan for developing the project. If you're an operator, if you manage, maintain projects, you can also make sure that you have the right data in place. So very, very important here. Data is key. The data is crucial. Without the data, we can't have the AI systems in place, and everything falls through. So I'll just wrap up and just say, basically, this is what we're doing here in Nigeria, not just Nigeria, but across Africa. Is we're here to support companies. We focus on renewable energy certificates, and we like to create a healthy dialogue around. Some people are proponents for renewable energy certificates, and others are for carbon credits. They can both coexist together, and we support there. We are currently managing, as I said, in Nigeria, over 700 megawatts of projects, mainly hydropower in Niger State. And it's growing, constantly growing. And this is where we believe a lot of asset owners, developers should key into certificates. We also support with advisory services, design modeling, understanding, do we need to go use renewable energy certificates or carbon credits? How can we increase the bankability of our projects? And to the right, it's only right that we talk about data a lot. We're also building a platform, software that can support practitioners like yourselves and to support you with techno-economic viability assessments, support with contracting and financing of projects. And I think, again, underlying all of this is having access to the right data. And that's one of the things we're trying to do, is build transparency, make everyone understand the importance of data in every aspect across the life cycle of a clean energy project. So yeah, thank you so much. Stop now.
Wow. Put your hands together. Can we have a e-clap for Dr. Harold Anuta? Put your hands together. Let me show those the emojis coming up. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. I heard a lot of emojis. Yeah. Honestly, like I said, this is the maiden edition of the webinar of SEPAN AI. Yeah, and this topic is very, very apt. And someone just texted now, so I hope we're recording this. Yes, I think the acting president said it at the time. Yeah, and reliability is a data problem before it used to be a hardware problem. And he really took us the whole hog of what is all about, and it's very important. Look at the Nigeria solar beam, the solar boom, and the weak link in the solar problem. And of course, we take cognizance of the fact that we have the demographic, we have the market, we still have that capacity of having a reliable, that's our prediction in our national policy of 30 gigawatt by 2030, as the case may be. And of course, he went further to talk about that this problem is not just a Nigerian problem, it's an African problem. Of course, under the Africa-wide, even 30% of projects fails, 33% in sub-Saharan, the previous system failure in sub-Saharan Africa is over 50%. Of course, Nigeria is 40%. Of course, Africa-wide, 45%. So it's a problem. And of course, he went further to talk about why the project fails, talk about inconsistent installation, team local technicians, fragmented data, which was the critical one he talked about, the very key. In fact, if at the rate, she said fragmented data is remains very key to why projects fails, and the delay in fraud detection and misaligned the financial models, so to speak. Of course, when you look at that, the data, I totally agree with you. What we see in that fragmented data is just the spreadsheet and paper logs only. So and and I think you agree with me that it's really, really a problem if we have to rely on spreadsheets, developers rely on spreadsheets and paper logs, so to speak. So we looked about the downtime cost when he talked about the Lagos alone, about the 39 megawatt CO2 equivalent, which we talk about the Nigeria's 19 trillion naira or 14 billion, equivalent of 8.5 million cars on the roads, and of course the emission potentials of 39 metric tons CO2. That's for Lagos alone. Can you imagine that 20 million population? Of course, we're talking about 240 million Nigerians. So we've got to move from reactive repairs to predictive maintenance. I've seen the whole lot what he has said in terms of predictive, preventive, predictive, prescriptive, and honestly, it's all about data. Though, and of course, he will talk about the data stack that makes prediction possible. When you talk about the sensor and the meters, the connectivity, the data platform, then the AI and ML, facility and the action. Of course, the algorithms catch. You will see how we talked about it. The data, battery degradation, panel soiling, shading, abnormal loading and tempering, inverter fault signatures, in thermal hotspots and all of that. So, of course, the AI is not about, you should have a co-pilot. It's not about AI alone. There are things AI will do. That does not mean, like in terms of prioritizing the size, comes first. Priority, that is one thing AI will do. But then there's the human touch to it as well. We need humans to, to also be active participants. So when you talk about the AI, you don't need to, we have to bring the human element, because in Lagos, he talked about there are different solar systems where you can work in Lagos in different manner as against Kano and all of that. So you need the human touch, the human element, so to speak. Even when you want to talk about the carbon market and the rural energy certificate and the carbon credit, there must be some level of human element and human touch. So honestly, it's just something that that is very, very rich. This 30 minutes, 35 minutes you have spent with us. Of course, from sensor to enablement certificate, the REC certificate is one thing that is very, very important. That the low-hanging fruit he's talked about is something new developers here must latch on. You have so many projects you're not aware of the fact that there's a low-hanging fruit on RECs. All of us are focused on the carbon market and carbon credit. That is good, but it's a long-term, and so we need to begin to get these certificates now. When you're a developer, you have in mind that with a generation, the certificate issued, you register, the sale, and of course the revenue is a long-hanging fruit. Less than 3 months or 6 months, you will get, you get the credit in the process. So it's something that is, very much. And the truth is doesn't matter. That's identified markets. The identified market, the science-based targets, that it is very critical. 4,200 companies. How many Nigerian companies are there already? Of course, I'm aware of the fact that, a whole lot of windows for REA and ECN, there's so many institutions that will come into the process when they are properly registered. Of course, you can see the Renewable 100. So it is not important. We don't know where to go. There's identified markets. And RenewableBridge is in the market, is one of the consultants that is also, so it's not as if you don't know where to go. So that is the beauty of this. And of course, Nigeria is always there. In terms of the 5 countries that have really African countries, this is not a question of theory. It's not a hypothetical thing. It's the 5 in terms of penetration, even though it's low for Africa, but Ghana, Kenya, Tanzania, South Africa, and Nigeria are at the driver's seat. So those of you developers, I need to seize the moment. If you get to you now come back and redesign your plan in terms of this certificate, it's very, very important. So it's very important that we get to know this. And I want to thank him for the other thing, what the intricacies of the renewable certificate, which which is very, very important. And of course, we will now begin it will be of ultimate benefit to developers, operators, financial and DFI regulators and policymakers. So it's something for you to really to key in and know where you can be very, very effective. I think at the end of this I look forward to getting this kind of conversation among the MDAs, so to speak. But at least home, they say East and West, home is the best. We are taking, with SEPAN and developers and members, we are here to leech on. Of course, he says Renewable Energy Bridge is there for our renewable certificates. Of course, we provide advisory services. Then, of course, solar PV development platforms. That is the key mandate of Renewable Energy Bridge. So I would like to thank Dr. Harold Anuta for this insightful presentation. So as seat keys, I want to hand over to the acting president to follow through in terms of question and answer series, so we can have questions. The next format, question and answer. Like I said, it's a smart presentation, and so under 30 minutes, 35 minutes will be done. And of course, it's going to be a monthly webinar. There's so much to do, and it's not a question of you come and talk show. There will be solution driven. It's being recorded, and at the end of the day, in the next 48 or 3 or 4 days, for those of you who are very active here, make sure you put in your emails, so we'll be able to give you, as there'll be a publication, an online publication to this effect, and which you are also going to send to policymakers and developers, private sector, so as to move this this to the next level. Solar has gone AI and not about under installation, so to speak. So thank you so much for this. So I hand over to Dr. Chris Ede, continuing the question and answer series. We're ready to answer questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Hello?
We can hear you. Can we hear you?
Thank you, distinguished guest speaker, our esteemed moderator, respected colleagues and participants. I thank you all for joining today. We've exceeded our time, but I would like to open the floor for 3 questions. You can unmute and ask. Okay, Omar Ahmed, you can go ahead. You can unmute yourself.
Okay, hello everyone. Dr. Harold, thank you very much for this wonderful presentation. I just have one question. You made mention of the sensor. That is the initial thing for you to want to incorporate Internet of Things into the design system. Do we have any available market in Nigeria that one can access those sensors? And or you have some reliable supplier that one can relate and in order to incorporate the design into our systems?
Thank you. Yeah, I know of this. We're not necessarily we don't work with the sensors. We just work with the data that we collect from it. But I know there's a company called Steamaco. So that's Steam and then ACO. I don't know if they're still operational now, but I know that last year, and up until last year when I checked, they were providing sensors for solar power projects. So that's one I know, Steamaco. But I think there are quite a few companies that are out there that can offer these services where you can collect data from your battery, battery health, charge controller, inverter. But I think the one I would say is Steamaco is one that I know of. I don't know if Prof, you know of any other OEMs that provide this, but that's the only one I know.
Okay. Yeah, that's it. It's an emerging market. So, and I believe that Omar, what you have said, this is where we're trying to stir up this and area. Like somebody talk about AI in this matter. So it's something that all of us are key in now. You can check that organization, and of course, when you Google, I'm sure there are one or two that also you can find out. So Omar, that's an important question. You see, you're trying to key using sensor. Keen into this presentation or this innovation. Thank you, Omar, for your question.
Thank you, Prof.
Okay. Next is Chidebere. Chidebere, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Very interesting presentation. I would just like to confirm, in terms of the data collection, I mean, I had the notion before the presentation.
Tell us your company as a developer. So that's one question. Let's find out where you're coming from. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, apologies. Yeah, my name is Chidebere Mabuko. Groups, to be precise. My question, like I was asking earlier, was I would just like to confirm in terms of the data collection, it sits entirely with the OEM, with the product, because I know these days most products have some, maybe if not an inbuilt EMS or some external device, or it could be third party that is mainly in charge of control and data logging. is there a need for, because I'm hearing sensors and IoT, because I know some of these loggers have some sort of feature that, whether it's via an API, that makes them communicate or send data, whether it's web-based, to some other server. Is this a case of integrating another dongle or an external device outside what is provided basically by OEMs?
I mean, thanks for the question. It depends. There's no one size fits all. I think the reason I was talking about the sensors is you just mentioned all the OEMs have ways of accessing the data. So imagine you have, for a typical installation, you might have 4 or 5 OEMs. So you might have the battery, and battery management system. You have the inverter, and then you might have, you might be collecting data from, the meter. So you have a meter to collect the consumption data. So you have to have access to all of this. So yeah, logging into separate systems to be able to pull the data, right? Not all of them have. Some of them you have to use their websites. Some of them might have an API that you can draw the data. So when I'm talking about sensors, potentially having a system, this IoT, maybe a simple, it could be a Raspberry Pi type system that sits on the side at site there and collects the data from all these different OEMs, processes that data, and then just sends one form of data. That can simplify the process. It depends, so it depends on a host of factors, what you want to use that data for. If it's one OEM that provides everything, then fine, you might be able to log in and just access all of that. But if it's not, then it might be better to have a system that's collecting all that data, does some of the cleaning of the data, processing of the data, and then sends it to the cloud. Yes, like an aggregator.
Please, I'm seeing Kelechi Abaniyo.
Okay.
You have the floor now.
All right. First of all, thank you, Dr. Anuta, for the wonderful presentation. Most of the people present have asked some of the questions, but I have this to ask.
What's the name of your company? As a developer, what's the name of the company?
Okay. We're from Lotgate Projects Nigeria Limited. We are developers. Right. I want to know, renewable energy certificate, is it the same or does it have the same mechanism like renewable obligation certificate like seen in the UK? Does it work the same way?
Well, the renewable obligation certificate ROCs is an old scheme that's been scrapped now. It's not the same. So there are 2 types of schemes. So renewable energy certificate is a voluntary scheme. So like I said, when I presented those 2 organizations, Science-Based Targets and Renewable Electricity 100. So companies would sign up to those schemes and say, we are going to reduce our emissions to meet, 1.5 degrees Celsius or 2 degrees Celsius Paris agreement. So those companies are doing it voluntarily, and they're doing it because they want to make an impact and because their shareholders are demanding it. They don't have to, but they do. So it's a very different market. Same thing with carbon credits. It's voluntary. But then when you go to renewable obligation certificates, it is like RECs, but it is mandated by the country. So in the UK at the time, the ROCs companies the government was paying for those renewable obligation certificates because the government had a target for the amount of renewables that they wanted on the grid. So in order to do that, they were supporting the projects by paying for it. And also some of the energy intensive industries also had to buy those ROCs to be able to be green because they had to commit. So there's those ones are actually mandatory emissions targets that they have to meet. So there are 2 different ones. The RECs and carbon credits are voluntary, but it's becoming very important. A lot of companies have to do it now. Most companies have a target for emissions reduction, and then there's the one that is mandatory, which is at the country level. Yeah. So RECs is voluntary.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Kelechi. Okay, I think we still have more clarifications and questions and all that, or even contribution. Dr. Chris, are you there?
Yes, we can take one more. We can take one more.
Yeah.
Quickly.
And you've told them to put in their emails and all that, and identify their companies, now, so to speak. So, email most of the time should be an official email and a private email as well. Gentlemen, this is just a series, and we want to have, in this series, at the end of the day, what we seek to do to build capacity. You can bring you can also bring your workers, apart from being CEO, because I know I saw STV, I saw two CEOs from two executive directors from STV. So like Zynox now, Chidebre is here, so one or two people. So the essence of this is so that you can now build capacity within your workforce, that's the essence of what we seek to do here, under this this series. So please, next time, this is just the maiden one. I want us to take, since we have started, but just make sure that when you are coming, you can come with one or two of your colleagues, so you can compare notes. When you go back to your office, you compare notes and order, make recommendation to your management, so to speak. Yeah. So Dr. Chris, over to you.
Okay, thank you everyone. Since there are no more questions, we can call it a day. On behalf of SEPAN, I sincerely appreciate our guest speaker, Dr. Harold, Professor Magnus, for his excellent leadership of this session. This is going to be a monthly series where we try to bring our members and sustainable energy professionals up to speed in this new AI era. I want to assure you that this webinar is part of our broader commitment to build more informed, future-ready, and impactful professional community. Once again, thank you for your participation. We look forward to welcoming you in the next session of the SEPAN AI Era series. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you, Dr. Chris. Before you say, let's have the keynote speaker the final notes, take care of the SEPAN and all that. So we have the certificates. You get those for the AI certificate as soon as it's ready. You can send it to us. That was one thing, you couldn't get it, but we'll give him that certificate. Maybe you can forward it to him maybe in the next 24 hours. Yeah. So your closing remarks, your closing statement for us to the SEPAN members and the Alliance in general.
Oh, that's from me. Oh, yes. I hope I was able to, shed some more light on the usefulness of the data and the importance of the data.
Harold, you have the floor.
Yes. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, yes. So I think the message to everyone is that I hope I was able to shed some more light on the reason why it's important to have, data collection, the right metering in place, because beyond just increasing the lifetime of the project, you can also commoditize that and generate some additional revenues from it. So in your processes, as you develop projects, as you maintain projects, just have that at the back of your mind, why it's important to have access to the data, and also when you're thinking about commoditizing your environmental attributes, either by carbon credits or renewable energy certificates, you have to make sure you think very, very well about it, because once you move on to one scheme, either carbon credits or RECs, you can't change to another scheme. So you have to really think about the value to you or to your clients before you decide to move on a particular scheme. And I hope that we can continue the dialogue on this. It's a very, very interesting market and is constantly developing. And we look forward to working with some of you here in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Lord. Thank you so much. So thank you. I know the president, acting president, have appreciated us. So on the same note too. Thank you for your wonderful attention. Just in the next 1 month, expect another. And maybe before we commence that, we'll be able to have that. I'm sure there's a question and answer, an assessment, that will be carried out, but also try and put on your email. We'll be communicating to you through your email as the case may be, and necessary. So over to you, Dr. Chris. Thank you so much. So Chris, bye-bye now. Chris, right?
Bye, everyone. Okay,
Bye-bye.
thank you very much.
Bye.
Good day. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Prof, and the wonderful presenter, Dr. Ona. We really appreciate your effort. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.